Very good evening to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to this very special live stream. It is just gone 11:30 p.m. Tuesday, the 21st of January. The time is now 6:30 p.m. in on the east coast of the United States and 5:30 p.m. on the central portion of the country in the Midwest. So a very warm welcome to the live stream this evening. We have got an historic snow event across the Gulf Coast of the United States. We are seeing all-time records fallen in towns, cities, but also we're seeing a state record being broken this afternoon as well in Florida, no less, where we've exceeded the snow record of 4.0 inches. That has now been broken in a place called Molino on the northwestern portion of the Florida Panhandle. So just bear with me a little second here while I get myself organised. I do apologise, and we will crack on. So how is everybody doing this evening? What are you doing up if you live in the UK? Is it not bedtime yet, or are you wanting to listen to my dulcet tones at 11:30 on a Tuesday evening? So a very warm welcome to everybody. Thanks for clicking on to today's stream. And bear with me a second. As per usual, I always have to adjust myself, even though I've went live already. Very good evening to Lindsay Vogan. Thanks very much for moderating this evening's stream. Don't know if she's going to stick around for the full duration of the stream this evening, but I do appreciate Lindsay tuning in from Marfogan Weather HQ. I'm sitting on the east end of Glasgow, Scotland. If you happen to be tuning in from elsewhere, I'm just on the east end of Glasgow in Scotland, and we have got plenty of weather coming up here in our part of the Atlantic over the next few days, and it's amazing to think that it is actually this very system that is bringing record-breaking snowfall to parts of the Gulf Coast, and not just parts. In fact, it's widespread anywhere really from Corpus Christi to the west of Houston, all the way to the coastal Carolinas. We are expecting to see records fall. So there's 26 concurrent viewers at the moment. A very warm welcome to the late live stream on this Tuesday, 21st of January edition. Hope everybody is safe and well. Are you in that snow anywhere along the US Gulf Coast? I would be very, very curious to hear from you. This is the latest radar. For a sec here, and I'll get the radar up in a little second here. But we are basically talking about a new record for New Orleans. The old record being, I believe, 2.7 inches, and we have seen the snowiest day in over 100 years for the city of New Orleans. Now, what is quite remarkable about this is, yes, you do get intrusions of Arctic air all the way down to the Gulf Coast, but to get it as far down as this and see a system develop off the Gulf Coast of the United States and allow powdery snow to basically accumulate all the way down to the beaches right on the shores of the Gulf of Mexico is pretty remarkable stuff. It really takes almost the perfect ingredients, the perfect storm. This will be, in terms of history, this will be the perfect snowstorm for the Gulf Coast of the United States. This is going to be and is a once in a lifetime, once in a generation event for this part of the country. This is a region that has no snow plows. This is a region that does not have the infrastructure to deal with this type of weather event. It happens once in a blue moon, and to see, you know, as much as 6 inches of snow lying in downtown New Orleans, seeing a new record for snowfall in western and northwestern Florida is pretty remarkable to say the least. A very good evening to David Vogan, to Keith Fletcher as well. We've got Brian Geeney in. I hope that is the right pronunciation. A very good evening to yourself. Hope everybody is well. be sure to hit that like button. It lets myself and YouTube know that you're enjoying the content here in the channel. So we've got Brian saying, hello Mark, make sure you mention the Gulf's proper name, the Gulf of Mexico. Yes, I will re-emphasize that one, the Gulf of Mexico. Hope that is okay for you, Brian. We've also got Paddy Boy tuning in from South Lanarkshire. Very good evening to you, Paddy. Hope you're well and having a pleasant evening. So yeah, this is the latest radar off. Did I say good evening to David Vaughan? I think I did. Very cold night here in Kirkintilloch. I think the temperature's hovering around about the freezing mark in Kirky this evening. Chilly, yes, but not quite as chilly as folks in the Gulf Coast are experiencing, especially as we move into the overnight period tonight. So let's just recap: 2 to 4 inches of snow fell in the Houston area. We will find out where that stacks up in terms of record breaking. I think the record for Houston, certainly in modern times, is 3.0 inches of snow. New Orleans has blown away a 100 plus year record. We've seen heavy snowfall moving through the Biloxi Gulfport area of coastal Minnesota. It's been a long day. Coastal portions of Mississippi. Then we've also had the Mobile area recording some heavy snowfall. We've still got that band of snow moving through even New Orleans at the moment, but it is going to start to clear. You can start to see the clearing taking place. I think parts of Lafayette, anywhere from Lake Charles, Lafayette, Baton Rouge, I believe, has seen a record snow amount as well, according to Mike Seidel of Fox Weather. Put this tweet out a little earlier saying that unofficially it's the biggest daily snowfall in Baton Rouge since 1914 with 4+ inches and counting. So that is a report by Mike Seidel. I believe there was a National Weather Service worker, employee, reported a snow depth in excess of 6 inches in Midtown New Orleans. So that is pretty remarkable stuff. Actually, we've got Ari E also tuning in. Good evening to Ari E. Avalanche warnings in East Iceland, but no snow in Reykjavik. Cheers, says Ari. Ari also says it's warmer in Anchorage, Alaska than in New Orleans. By the way, weird January certainly is. We have got not only it's warmer in in Anchorage as opposed to New Orleans, but it's also snowier as well. Believe it or not, so pretty incredible stuff actually, to say the least. This is a live camera as the sun sets in downtown Houston. So you can see the snow lying on the ground, and obviously with clear skies and the winds dropping off, it'll be interesting to see how cold the temperatures drop off this evening. So it's currently 4:40 p.m. in Houston. You can see the nice sun reflection there on the skyscrapers. Temperature currently at 39 degrees Fahrenheit, which is a couple of degrees above the freezing mark. And once that sun drops, the temperatures are going to drop very quickly. Also, I've got Joyce Vogan also tuning in. Very good evening to Joyce. Hope you're both well, mum and dad, this evening. So yeah, that is the scene from downtown Houston. This is Bourbon Street in the center of New Orleans. Pretty remarkable scene, to say the least. You do not see this really ever in New Orleans. We have seen snow 2008, 2009, and I believe there may have been snow in 2014 as well, but it was pretty much a half an inch of snow at the very most. But to see this type of amount of snow and the powdery, dusty snow as well, that's the interesting part about it as well. All the ingredients had to come together. The polar air getting driven south, not just reaching the Gulf Coast, but essentially moving out over the open Gulf of Mexico as well. You get the development of that low, and it could have been slightly further inland, which means that these areas would have seen plain rain or perhaps a wintry mix. But the fact is that we had almost the perfect ingredients coming together with bitterly cold, dry Arctic air, the moisture, that provided the snow, obviously, in the first place, and we had the positioning of that low was critical as well. So it's going to be very interesting to see the numbers as they come out. Obviously, this event is still ongoing. It is now cleared Houston, Galveston. It is now beginning to move away from the New Orleans area, where we've seen the snowiest day in excess of 100 years for the New Orleans area. We're seeing the snow starting to exit Louisiana, where we've got as close to a foot of snow within the state, especially points to the west and north of the NOLA region. We've got the biggest snowfall totals. But the I-10 corridor, anywhere from Houston all the way to West Florida, is pretty much a no-go. This is a region that is not used to seeing this kind of wintry hazard. So there's no, like I said already, there's no plows. Instead of dropping salt to provide the melt, it's actually sand that they use down on the US Gulf Coast as well. So basically, they've not been able to clear the snow that's been falling through the course of today. So, added hazards to an area when you've not got the equipment to deal with this type of snow event. It really is truly historic. And I know I keep saying that, but it's one of those things that this is going to be written in new textbooks for U.S. meteorology training, etc. This is going to be one of those events that will be remembered for a generation to come. I can't really emphasize the point enough. So, hi to the Capt tuning in as well. I wonder what the snow quality is like there. It's a very dry, powdery snow. Because we've got very dry Arctic air in place, the dew points have been. So, even though the temperatures were, say, for example, as this system was bringing the heavy snowfall to places such as Houston, Galveston, we had the snow all the way down to the shores of the Gulf of Mexico itself. We did have slightly milder air to the east of the system, so we had temperatures into the upper 30s, low 40s in places such as Mobile, Pensacola, Tallahassee earlier on this afternoon. But the dew points, while the air temperature was in the 40s, the dew points were in the low teens. And therefore, once that moisture then starts to run eastwards, you start to see the mid to high level clouds moving in. That had been the case earlier on today for places such as Tallahassee. I've seen several live reports showing the clouds now starting to filter in. And even though those temperatures were into the low 40s in Fahrenheit, the dew point temperature was in the low teens. So what happens is once that moisture then moves in and then starts to descend through the column of the atmosphere, with that very dry air, you then see the moisture running down through the atmosphere, providing evaporative cooling, dynamic cooling, and therefore the temperature very quickly starts to drop close to the freezing mark. And the danger aspect about North Florida in particular is that we're going to see rain, then a changeover to something more in the way of frozen. Freezing rain is a very, very real threat for parts of North Florida, parts of South Georgia, even extending westwards into Alabama. There is a freezing rain threat. All it takes is for a quarter-inch of ice to start to form on some of these power lines, for example, and it can cause power issues. It can, even once you start to get accretion building up to a quarter, even a half, 3/4 of an inch, that is a lot of weight on power lines. And what happens is that the power lines get basically taken down with under the weight of ice. So ice is a big issue, especially during this evening and pretty much currently over North Florida. But we have seen a report in Molina, or Molino, in the West Panhandle that has received over 5 inches of snow, surpassing the all-time Florida state record of 4.8 4.0 inches of snow. Sorry. So we have got David Aitchison tuning in as well, Wigan in the Greater Manchester area. Good evening to you, my friend. We have 39 concurrent viewers at the moment here. So if you're enjoying the content here, or not just in this live stream, but also across the YouTube channel, please hit that like button, leave a comment, and also hit that subscribe button as well. This is the very system that is going to bring us the major wind event towards the end of this working week. So it really is a truly fascinating setup that we've got going at the moment. Bitterly cold Arctic air getting driven south all the way to the Gulf Coast of the United States. We're seeing relative mild across the western side of Europe here. So we've got one extreme versus another, both sides of the Atlantic. We're going to see a very powerful jet stream in excess of 160, 270, 280 miles per hour. That jet is going to then pick this area of low pressure up and scoot it across the Atlantic and rapidly deepen on approach to the UK and Ireland towards the Friday time frame. Met Office have already named this system. We do have warnings in place, and what is likely to happen is those warnings are likely to be upgraded, I think, over the next few days here. So it certainly is a very active and busy time around at the moment here. So the cap says I'm in Swords County, Dublin. Thank you very much for tuning in, and also a very good evening to Steve Chilton as well for tuning in. So the sun is now setting on the US Gulf Coast. We've got bitterly cold conditions to speak about. These are the current temperatures according to the MeteoSeal website. The contrast between the Mexican-Cuban side of the Gulf versus the United States side of the Gulf could not be starker. 25, 26 summer-like conditions on the Mexico and Cuban side of the Gulf of Mexico. We've got what has been 6-7 hours of heavy blowing snow in the New Orleans area. We've seen snow scenes in the New Orleans area that has resembled more lake effect downstream of Lake Erie or Lake Ontario. It really has been quite remarkable. Up further north, we've got the clear skies and bitterly cold conditions. Temperatures dropped to around about the minus 27 Celsius mark this morning in Minneapolis, Minnesota. We've had a slow recovery. The temperatures are starting to ease across the western United States as milder air starts to push eastwards. We're starting to see the core of this polar air mass moving into the Great Lakes through the course of this evening, and once that system then starts to pull eastwards, we're going to start to see the clear skies, light winds, and snow-covered ground anywhere from Houston all the way to North Florida, extending into South Georgia and up the Carolinas as well. The temperatures are going to really, really plummet behind that system. Would not be surprising if snow records in this part of the world is followed by cold records once we see this the overnight period set in. So these are the live cameras from Houston. This is New Orleans. This is Galveston, and even the beaches of the Florida Gulf Coast has a nice covering of snow as well. So pretty remarkable stuff. Ralph Lloyd Roberts, tune in. A very good evening to you. We've also got who else has we got? So let me just see. The cap says he's usually bang on, to be fair, an excellent forecaster. Mark Goodman. I certainly try my best. It doesn't always work out, has to be said. I will hold my hand up when things go wrong, but nevertheless, things have played out not too badly in recent weeks. I think the overall winter forecast up until now hasn't been too bad. It looks as if February is going to be a little bit of a blip. It has to be said, that polar vortex becoming record strong. We're also seeing the warmer phases of the Magellan Oscillation as well, which is likely to mean that we're going to start to build the cold up over the Arctic region, flood the continents of both North America and Western Europe with ocean air. So we will wait and see what happens as we go through the next week or so. More on that in the European Outlook, by the way, coming up tomorrow, as well as probably the next couple of days as well. So certainly all interests are starting to gather with regards to this upcoming storm at the end of the week. It had been said for quite some time, even before the end of the cold spell there, that we received here on this side of the Atlantic. I did say that we were moving into stormier Magellan Oscillation phases. The Arctic air that is driving south over North America would start to trigger a stormier situation for us here in the west of Europe. So we've got Dave02. Also, 8 to 12 inches have fallen near Lafayette. It really is incredible. So Florida already has broken a state record for snow. Are we going to see any other records falling with regards to snow in terms of state records? We're going to see town all-time records, or at least a top 1, 2 snow event for many communities right the way along, anywhere from Houston to we've seen places east of Houston as well recorded even bigger snow totals. I think it was 4 to 7 inches falling down across towards the Bowman area of southeast Texas. Then that area, right the way across, anywhere from Lake Charles, Lafayette, through New Orleans, eastwards towards parts of the Mobile area of Alabama. And then we're starting to see we're going to see the National Weather Service put out these totals, and I think you're going to see a strip anywhere from around the Beaumont area of southeast Texas, right the way through Lafayette, Lake Charles, into New Orleans, points eastwards, perhaps the Gulfport, Biloxi, Mississippi area, and then even a little swath, probably to the north of Pensacola. We're going to be seeing anywhere from 4 to 6 inches of snow. I think we're closing in on a half a foot of snow in northwestern Florida, which is pretty darn remarkable when you think about that. Let me see here if there's anything else I can show real quick. Is there any updates from our friend Mike Seidel of Fox Weather? Let's have a look and see if there's anything new from him. So no, there's been nothing in the last 6 hours or so. Let's have a quick look at the weather channel and see if there's anything here. The National Weather Service in New Orleans, is there any update with regards to snow totals? Nothing really in the last 20 minutes or so, but it certainly looks as if we are seeing some very large totals. One tweet here says we are getting a lot of questions about records. The 1895 NOLA record is from a site we no longer take obs at. So we will need to do additional research to verify any new records. The previous record, should I say, because this has been blown away, was at the airport of 2.7 inches of snow. So the records for New Orleans is held at the airport, the international airport. So a part of the world that is more used to severe weather and hurricanes. We're talking about New Orleans. Obviously Florida as well. Back in the summer and early portions of the fall season, where we were seeing Cat 3, Cat 4 hurricanes making landfall. It really is remarkable to think that 6 months later, we're talking about an historic snow event for this part of the world. So you can see here, this is the new record. This was back earlier on from a tweet by Steve Bender saying that the previous record was back on the 31st of December 1963 of 2.7 inches. That has been blown away by the system today. Let me see here if there's anything else that I can pull up for you, and then we'll look quickly at some of the models. We've obviously had a particularly cold January across the eastern and central portions of the United States, and it looks as if this will be probably one of the colder Januaries for a few years in for the United States. Let's have a quick look and actually have a see what it's showing. So we're still holding on to below average temperatures here in the UK and Ireland for the month of January. But if we look across, let's have a look at the Northern Hemisphere view, and you can see that it has been unusually mild on the Russian side of the pole and even northern portions of North America. But look at this here. The majority of the United States for the month of January is running below normal by a significant way. Let's have a look and see what the past 48 hours have looked in terms of the temperature. Normally, this is in Celsius, by the way, and this really is quite stark. Look at the amount of warmth, by the way, up towards the Arctic region of Canada, Greenland, for example, and across Russia. This really kind of emphasizes the point that while we've got bitterly cold conditions across the United States, that is just absolutely brutal. Over the last 48 hours, these anomalies are, you're talking a good 15 Celsius below average over the last 48 hours across the United States. But in contrast, we've got a vast area of northern Eurasia that has been exceptionally warmer than average. So a very, very contrasting and extreme contrast across the northern hemisphere over the last 48 hours. And if we look at the United States specifically, you can see these Barney colors representing temperatures a good 10 to 15 Celsius below the average. This is obviously for a fairly short window, 48 hours only you're talking, but nevertheless very, very impressive indeed. So let's have a look and see if I can find the right chart. It would always be helpful. So I can see North America here, but I can't see the United States. So you get the overall idea. Let's have a look and see what else I can show you in terms of the modelling. So obviously, is this cold spell going to hold on forever? No, it is not, because it is a part of the world that does not hold on to cold for a particularly long period of time. So what's going to happen is, as we move towards the upcoming weekend, places such as Houston, New Orleans, across the northwest Florida, we're going to see temperatures back into the 60s. So that's 16, 17 Celsius by the time we reach the latter half of this week. So this is going to be a short, sharp burst of winter weather. So the system clears out of the way. We've got lighter winds. We've got high pressure building over the top of that snowpack, and temperatures are going to drop like a stone during the course of the night. We're going to see a struggle to get much above the freezing mark, and along the Gulf Coast, especially where there's lying snow, we're going to see the refreeze kick back in tomorrow night and into, what would that be, Thursday morning. And then as we move towards Friday and Saturday, we're going to gradually start to see a recovery taking place. But according to the GFS model anyway, you can see here, this is what the temperature projections are looking like. So let's have a look and see what the temperatures are suggesting according to the GFS model here. So let's go back to the overnight tonight. Let's blow this up actually to make it a little bit easier to see real quick. So this is a zoomed in view. This is the temperatures in terms of Fahrenheit, obviously. And what's going to happen is, as obviously the sun is now set, there's snow lying on the ground, and the GFS model is indicating temperatures even close to the New Orleans area, not that far off, around 10 degrees Fahrenheit. What is 10 degrees Fahrenheit? That's about minus 12 Celsius during the overnight period tonight. I think we are going to see record breaking temperatures during the overnight, and I would not be surprised if we see even colder temperatures than what the models are predicting, because remember, you don't normally have 3 to 6 inches of snow lying all the way down to the beaches of Texas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Florida. Look at this here. There's an area here in the southeast of the United States. We've got the teens below zero through parts of upstate New York, central Pennsylvania, into parts of West Virginia, northern portions of Virginia, and we're going to see temperatures in the single figures below in the single numbers in Fahrenheit in the parts of the North Georgia mountains. For example, Atlanta may get close to 12, maybe even 10 degrees Fahrenheit. We've got actually a winter. The National Weather Service has upgraded the Atlanta area to a winter storm warning, I believe. There has been more snow falling in the Atlanta area than what was originally expected. So they've upgraded their warning to for the wintry precipitation. But look at this here: temperatures, places that have seen the deepest snow during the course of today. We have got temperatures close to zero between New Orleans and Lake Charles by the time we reach tomorrow morning at sunrise. So let me just see if I can get a closer up view of this. This is pretty wild stuff, actually, when you think about this. And there's going to be a major problem with burst pipes, I would imagine, tomorrow morning. A lot of pipes that are not protected are going to have major problems tomorrow morning, I think, with the level of cold that is coming in on the backside, and aided by the fact that we've got a half a foot of snow on the ground. So this is the temperatures during the course of tomorrow afternoon, 27 to 30 degrees. And then once the sun resets tomorrow night, we're going to see the temperatures crash once again in the area that has seen the deepest snow. So the modelling is actually seeing where that deep snow cover is lying. That is where the coldest temperatures are going to be during the course of both tonight and tomorrow night. Look at the panhandle of Florida. Could we even see temperatures close to upper single figures in parts of the far northwest of Florida? I remember back to, I believe it was 2004, I think it was, I seen a temperature in northwest Florida of around 14 degrees Fahrenheit, which is around about the minus 10 Celsius mark. It would not be surprising, given the amount of snow on the ground, if we see enough clear skies and those winds drop off during the overnight period tonight. I don't know if the clouds will exit quick enough, but if they do, we could see some remarkable cold temperatures even into the west side of Florida by the time we reach tomorrow morning. But very, very cold couple of nights to come, and then the temperatures are going to recover. Remember I said to you that we're going to start to warm things up. Play through this loop here, and you can see that the temperatures start to recover. There is a slow recovery, granted, especially where there's lying snow. You can generally see here that those lighter colours representing colder temperatures are basically the modelling picking up on that snow-covered ground anywhere from West Louisiana all the way up to the coastal plain of the Carolinas here during the course of Friday. And then as we move into the weekend, while we see a refreezing return during the overnight period, through the next several nights, we are going to gradually see that recovery taking place into the weekend. Look at this here, 18Z Sunday. We've got temperatures close to 70 degrees Fahrenheit again in southern portions of Louisiana. We're going to see temperatures into the north of Florida recover back into the upper 50s and low 60s. So we are going to see the recovery taking place as we move towards the weekend for folks in the far south of the United States. So certainly we have got a lot of things going on. Let's have a quick look at the radar and see what the latest is with regards to this snow event. Now, very gradually starting to pull eastwards, as exiting the New Orleans area. We're going to see a continuation of heavy snowfall through the early evening in parts of western Florida. Given the fact that we've already seen 5.5 inches of snow, it would not surprise me if we actually see snow totals build to quite ridiculous amounts. It wouldn't be surprising 7 or 8 inches of snow would not be surprising in the slightest. So yeah, I think I've spoken long enough. I'm starting to wilt, it has to be said. What is the time? 5 past midnight here in the UK. So I'm going to round up. I'm going to be doing a separate video with regards to how much snow has actually fallen in this region, anywhere from South Texas all the way to the coastal Carolinas. In the next day or so, we'll see what the records have been broken. So I do greatly appreciate the fact that you've tuned in on this Tuesday evening. Massive thank you to we've got Gavin tuning in as well. Good evening to you, Gavin. But thanks very much for Gavin tuning in. We've got Craigie Boy, Hazel Kitching, thanks for tuning in. We've got Steve Chilton. We've got Lindsay for moderating. Thank you very much for that. And let me see here. We've got Simon Davis also tuning in as well. Ari E, the Capt, Ralph Lloyd Roberts. We've got Dave02 also has tuned in. David Aitchison also tuning in. So a massive thank you to everybody for kindly tuning in to this evening's live stream, looking at this historic southern US snowstorm. We will look into a bit more detail in terms of the records that have been broken, how cold temperatures will drop after the snow system pulls eastwards, allowing that Arctic air to ride in over top of that snow cover. That is the perfect setup for maximum radiational cooling. We could see some very historic cold following what is a very historic snowstorm for the US Gulf Coast. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and I'll see you tomorrow with the European outlook. More on the upcoming storm in tomorrow's video, so stay tuned for that. Like and subscribe. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.